Welcome. This is a video for the Semantics module of Linguistics 101. We'll start our exploration of semantics by looking at two concepts that you probably first encountered back in elementary school. We're going to discuss synonyms and antonyms. Please keep watching though. There are elements of these concepts that go deeper than you probably covered in elementary school, and they will be important going forward. At the end of this video, you'll be able to identify pairs of words as synonyms or as antonyms, and also ask some questions about how synonymous two words are or what types of antonyms you're dealing with. So let's start with synonyms. Two words are synonymous if they have identical or nearly identical meanings. If they're nouns, they refer to the same thing, like student and pupil. If they're verbs, they describe the same action, like buy or purchase. If they're adjectives, they may identify the same property, like inebriated and drunk. Of course, just because two words are synonymous doesn't mean they're interchangeable all the time without any side effects. So, for example, after a night of overindulgence, you're unlikely to tell a friend that you were inebriated. You'd rather say drunk, or perhaps shit-faced, depending on your social circle. But to your grandmother, you're more likely to say inebriated, if you bring it up at all. Again, depending on your grandmother, I suppose. So synonymy doesn't mean that two words are identical in all senses. It just means that they refer to the same thing. And think about that other example, student and pupil. Now, certainly there's a sense of student and a sense of pupil that refer to the same type of entity. But pupil also has another meaning. It can mean that dark part of your eye, right? Student never means that dark part of your eye. So two words are synonymous more precisely if, on a particular reading, they tend to refer to the same thing. Doesn't mean that they always have to refer to the same thing. So in a later video, we'll learn about some other relations that sometimes look like synonymy, but there are important ways to distinguish them. And yet another video, we'll look at, among other things, what tends to be commonly different between pairs of synonyms. For now, I think we've given it a good start. So moving on to antonyms. Antonyms, two words are antonyms if they have opposite meanings. For example, light and dark are antonyms. So are light and heavy when we use a different sense of light. Pass and fail are a popular example of antonyms at university. Well, not popular, but something you commonly come across. Another pair that you'll come across of antonyms is male and female, and any of a number of other word pairs that are distinguished by gender, like man, woman, girl, boy, mother, father, etc. So you may or may not have noticed that in that list we have at least three different types of antonyms, three different ways that meanings can be opposed. With light and dark, for example, these describe two ends or two directions on a continuum. Something can be more light than something else, something can be more dark than something else, or it can be neither light nor dark, but somewhere in between. So you have this continuum, these gradations. These are called gradable or graded antonyms. So other examples include old and new, or high and low. I imagine you can come up with others yourself. Pass and fail, though, that was one of the ones that we mentioned before. These don't represent a continuum. When you get a mark in a class, it's either a passing mark or a failing mark. To get gradations, you would have to use a different grading scheme than pass-fail. You would have to use, the letter grades, A, B, C, or percentages, or talk about getting a higher mark or a lower mark, high and low being gradable antonyms. But pass and fail, they're complementary or absolute antonyms. Any mark is going to be one or the other, but not both. So other examples include on and off, present and absent. And again, try to think of some yourself if you want. Finally, male and female. These aren't absolutely opposite. Males and females are in fact very similar in the grand scheme of things. For example, they're more similar to each other than either of them is to a rock or to green, for example. But in terms of the biological or social relationship, they are opposed or contrasted. So these are called relational antonyms. They're opposite in the context of that relationship. And other examples of relational antonyms include leader and follower, or teacher and student. And again, try to think of others as well. So, after you identify two concepts or terms as opposites, as antonyms, think about whether they fall on a continuum, gradable antonyms, whether they exhaustively cover two opposed concepts, complementary antonyms, or whether they are only opposed in the context of a specific relationship between them, relational antonyms. All right, so in this video, we've looked at the concepts of synonymy and antonymy, including subtypes of antonyms, gradable, complementary, and relational. You should now be able to identify a pair of words as either synonymous or antonymous, synonyms or antonyms, and if they're antonyms, identify which type of antonym they are. We will come across words that are neither synonyms nor antonyms in future videos. So besides the examples given earlier in this video, try to think of 4 pairs of synonyms. Try to think of a pair of synonymous nouns, a pair of synonymous verbs, a pair of synonymous adjectives, and a pair of synonymous adverbs. And once you've done that, maybe reflect on, is one of those classes of words easier than all the others? Is one harder than all the others? Why might that be? Next, again, excluding the examples that you've already just heard, try to think of a pair of gradable antonyms, a pair of complementary antonyms, and a pair of relational antonyms. And again, is it easier to come up with examples in a particular word class? Harder? What do you think, and why? Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.